Number 10. Jericho's safe landing. In AEW's first ever Blood and Guts match during 2021, Chris Jericho's Inner Circle faction took on MJF's Pinnacle in an entertaining yet brutal war. The Blood and Guts match is effectively AEW's version of War Games, and the two factions would brawl all over the ring whilst locked inside the steel cage. Eventually, MJF and Chris Jericho would fight their way up to the top of the cage, as MJF would manage to get the better of Jericho after hitting him with the Dynamite ring. He would look to throw Jericho off the top of the cage until Sammy Guevara would forfeit the match on behalf of the Inner Circle, giving the Pinnacle the win, to try and save Jericho from being thrown off the cage. However, MJF was in full heel mode during this time and proceeded to throw Jericho off the top of the cage anyway. Although the spot was a good idea, the embarrassing part came due to AEW's camera work catching the padded mat hid under the stage for Jericho to fall onto. As Jericho fell onto the stage, it would break apart to reveal several parts of the black crash pad below. Fans would criticise this embarrassing moment online, but luckily it didn't take too much away from the match. Number 9. Arn Anderson takes a trip. During a December 2021 episode of AEW Dynamite, Cody Rhodes was set to face off against Andrade El Idolo in an Atlanta street fight. As Rhodes made his entrance, Arn Anderson would join him in his corner. However, as the pair walked out to the top of the ramp, Andrade's assistant, Jose, would charge at Anderson to attack him. However, Anderson would misplace his footing and go tumbling off the stage. Luckily for Anderson though, the drop wasn't too far and his fall was broken by a lighting rig. As Cody and Andrade brawled towards the ring, you could see Jose having to help lift Anderson out of the fallen pit and continue attacking him on stage. Although this must have been embarrassing for Anderson, thankfully no one was badly hurt. Number 8. Worst punches in pro wrestling history. One of AEW's worst and most embarrassing botches came on the 12th ever episode of Dynamite during the main event of the show. SCU would defeat the Young Bucks to retain their tag team championships. However, after the match, the Dark Order and their creepers would come out to the ring to begin to attack both teams. Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes would all come out to try and stop the chaos, but would be beaten down for their efforts. The embarrassing part came when one of the Dark Order's creepers went to lay out Dustin with a series of punches on the floor, only for the camera to show that the shots were nowhere near Dustin's head, being literally feet away from touching him. The moment didn't last long, but it was clear as day and right in front of the cameras for everyone to see. Number 7. Cody Rhodes puts himself through a flaming table. Following on from our earlier listing of Arn Anderson falling off the stage, the same match would feature yet another embarrassing botch. During Cody Rhodes and Andre El Idolo's Atlanta street fight, the pair would hold nothing back, as the finishing moment saw Rhodes attempt a reverse DDT to Andre off the top rope and through a flaming table. Fans noticed Cody's back was covered in an odd substance, and when the fire emerged, it all made sense. However, as the pair performed the move, Andrade's head would partly go through the table, with Cody's back hitting the majority of the flames. Cody would pick up the win, but suffer some nasty burns from the bump, which could have turned out much different if the table hadn't been placed so close to the corner. Number 6. JR forgets where he works. JR is considered by many as the voice of pro wrestling. When AEW launched, they made a good move in bringing JR on board to not only help talent, but also lead the broadcasting team. However, after being a part of the WWE for so long, JR made a few mishaps on commentary during his first couple of years with AEW. From calling Kenny Omega the WWE champion, to closing up an episode of Dynamite in the summer of 2021, promoting an upcoming AEW event by stating there's nothing in your life that will top seeing a live WWE Dynamite. Fans were quick to pick up on this embarrassing botch, but JR would take to Twitter to make light of the situation, where most fans found it quite funny. Number 5. A Pizza Hut deathmatch. In July of 2021, Chris Jericho would face off against Nick Gage in a deathmatch at AEW's Fight for the Fallen event. Nick Gage is a legendary deathmatch wrestler from the indie scene and took Jericho to his limits with all-out brutality. From broken glass to light tubes, both men held nothing back in this bloodbath. However, when Nick Gage decided to introduce his signature pizza cutter, he would begin to cut the forehead of Jericho, only for AEW to begin showing the Domino's Pizza advert in picture-by-picture on live television. Backstage, the TNT network and higher-ups were furious at the mishap, and at the time it was claimed that Domino's had threatened to pull their advertising from all AEW shows, as the spot with the pizza cutter aired during an ad for their deep dish treats. Speaking on the latest talk is Jericho, the former AEW champion recalled the spot and said that despite what was reported, nothing happened between AEW and the veteran pizza chain in what was a humorous but embarrassing botch for AEW. Number 4. Matt Sydal debuts slip-up. Debuts in wrestling are one of the most exciting things fans look forward to. However, on this night, during AEW's All Out 2020 pay-per-view in the Casino Battle Royale, Matt Sydal will be revealed as the Joker's surprise entrance, making his AEW debut. However, things would instantly go wrong in the most embarrassing of ways. As Sydal ran from the entrance ramp and to the top rope, he would go to perform a shooting star press, a move he had performed numerous times. Sadly, as he was about to make an impact, Sydal would slip off the top rope and come crashing down to the mat, landing awkwardly on his shoulders. Sydal would take to Twitter after the show to say slipping was bonkers. That was a first and hopefully a last. Thank you for all the kind messages and check-ins. I'm beyond honoured to be a part of AEW Wrestling's All Out. Number 3. Mike Tyson can't rip off his shirt. During the early days of AEW, a feud was teased between Mike Tyson and Chris Jericho. AEW would try and use Tyson's star power to bring more eyes to the product. However, nothing really materialised from Tyson's appearance. One issue was that Tyson had aged, so wasn't as physically ripped as during his prime and did not look as intimidating. Although on a May 20th edition of AEW Dynamite, Tyson and his crew would confront Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle in the ring. As Jericho would talk trash, Tyson would attempt to rip his shirt off, which embarrassingly seemed more difficult than it should have been. Eventually, Tyson would give up on this and proceeded to pose in a comedic manner right in front of Jericho before this eventually led to an all-out brawl. Number 2. Adam Cole's diving injury. During AEW's 2023 Grand Slam event, MJF would defend his AEW World title against Samoa Joe in the main event. When Samoa Joe looked to have the match won, trapping MJF in a sleeper hold, Adam Cole would run down to the ring and try to motivate MJF to continue on. However, as Adam Cole ran down to the ring, he would jump off an elevated entrance ramp to the floor below. Upon landing, Cole was instantly seen limping as he had twisted his ankle badly. Cole would help finish the segment, but would be limping throughout, in what turned out to be a serious ankle injury, which has currently put him out of in-ring action. It was reported that Cole would need 8 screws and a metal plate inserted into his ankle, but out of all the ways to get injured, this has to be an embarrassing way for sure. Number 1. The explosion. At AEW's Revolution pay-per-view in 2021, the company showcased the first ever exploding barbed wire death match in North America between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley for the AEW World title. This match proved to be a huge draw for the company, and both men actually put on probably the best barbed wire death match ever. However, sadly, this would all be overshadowed by the hugely embarrassing botch that happened at the end, with Omega having picked up the win, trapping Moxley handcuffed and motionless in the ring. Eddie Kingston would run out to try and save his best friend as the countdown was running out. With Kingston unable to get Moxley out of the ring in time, the explosion set off. However, it was the most lackluster firework display you had ever seen, with just a few sprinklers going off. The pyro display for the explosion had completely failed, with Kingston having to embarrassingly sell the moment as if he had passed out, even though the explosion never touched them. This moment would go down in history as AEW's most embarrassing botch ever, with Mox even taking to the mic after the show went off the air to state that Omega may be tough, but he sure as hell can't build an exploding ring. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more wrestling content.